Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video, and it is once again time to take on everybody's favorite event in the game, Heroes Jubilee. So, for newer players that have not experienced a Jubilee yet, because this is your first month and this is your first full meta, Jubilee is a ranking event, pretty much how the previous raid against Jaune worked, where you will take part in a number of normal fights, like these. You will get scored based on how you perform in these fights, and you will obtain a number of tickets that you can then take into the boss battle and fight against the 2 boss battle stages, which I have not done yet. So, and then you just attempt to do it with, the best teams, the best score possible, and then at the very end of the period, in another 6 days, you will get ranked, and you will get rewards according to your ranking, which does include crystals this time. But in order to become one of the top 10s and everything, and very, very top 1.01 percenters, you need to have the full meta. And if you don't have the full meta or a number of substitutions for, the normal fights, you're not going to place up here. So it's gonna vary. So let's lead into a few different housekeeping rules. One, we are doing the shorter format videos, so back to 1 video per individual fight. So this will be the fight focused on normal battle 1, and the main team that I use to get this score, and then some alternates that you can attempt to use. It will have all the different videos for each fight linked into each video's video description, so you can go find them easily. But with this video going up first, these other 2 battles are not going to be linked, and the boss battles won't be linked until those are active, so just be aware of that. And I'm going to make a playlist for the 31st Jubilee as well, to make it easier to find on the channel as a whole. Other than that, disclaimers are your results may vary, right? I've been playing for a lot longer, I have many more dupes than you, and you will have to use what you can that's available to your team and your box. So the teams that I showcase here might not be the exact teams that you use, but it's to give you an idea of what the general strategy is, and then it's up to you to bring your own units in, whatever you have on hand, to try and do the best. Second housekeeping rule is that... okay, so these on the left are the characters I use for maximum protection gauge, and then these characters on the right are the characters I use for maximum skill point gain on turn 1. So if you wonder why I have 40-something skill points to start out with instead of 30, or if I have half an alt gauge or more on turn 1, these are the characters that help us do that. And then the third rule is that make sure to go into your Town of Tempest, and if you are able to, and you have built them, please optimize your magic output buildings to get that extra little bit of stats out of them for whatever stage you're taking on, whatever space, dark, or light characters that you're nuking with, because those extra stats do go a long way. But with that said, let's jump into normal battle 1. Alright, so for normal battle 1, I do have my only max score on the the expert stages. It's probably going to be the only one that I have max score on. But if we take a look at what we need to do here, it is 3 ants in 3 different phases. So it's 1, and then another 1, and then another 1. So it's 1, 2, 3. So you have a couple turns, and you have a little bit of wiggle room. The max turn bonus is turn 5. So if you can somehow keep these ants alive and stack a bit longer than normal, because normally it's like turn 3, it does give you the option to use some more powerful buffs, and especially since they want us to use a space magic nuker, which we have received 2 space magic nukers this month. So chances are you probably have Violet, and you might have Jaune. Most people, if they've summoned smartly this month, should at least have Violet and should be able to score reasonably well in this stage. So the first team that we've got looks like this, and it looks a little wonky, but we've got Lumi, because she's giving extra damage against wind enemies, which we have. And then we have Blanc, who's going to give us a buff, and Guy, who's going to orb change, and Soe, who's going to keep us protected on turn 1, since that's the only real turn that we're going to get hit. So we want to make sure that we lower the Ant's attack and give us defense. So this Soe is skill fused. If you don't have him skill fused, you could definitely bring somebody else. But, we also have to turn 1 orb change with No, actually we don't, never mind. We just want his defense buff. So he's going to keep us defensive oriented. And then Violet is our nuker with her magic buff and her orb changing. And then we've got Rimuru here, who's going to help us get the EX alt for Violet. Also, I do have the alt gauge charm on Lumi, so it's going to buff Violet because she has the highest attack. We made sure of that. So let's go ahead and make a cut, and I'll take it into the actual run itself. Alright, so starting up, turn 1, we're going to orb change with Guy, or you could use Violet. Doesn't really matter, it's just a special convert, so either one of them. And then we're going to use the defense skill with Soe to make sure that all of us have extra defense and the ant's attack is lowered. And then we're going to go ahead and send this. This does not kill, and I don't want to kill this ant right here because I want to go to at least turn 4 to make sure I have enough points to use everything. So here it is, and he does 1 damage. So as long as he doesn't hit Soe, you're pretty well off, because Soe will actually take a bit more damage, and as minimum damage is what you're looking for. But turn 2, we have 4 Soe orbs, which is perfect, so we're going to bring Rimuru in, convert all those, and then Unity, Rainbow Orb them, and then we'll bring Violet in for this, and then we'll also put a stack of Lumi on her, which will give her extra alt gauge on top of that. So now we're going to kill the ant, because we have a full hand, and that gets us very close to an EX alt already. And there we go, 9.2 right there. And now we're moving on to turn 3, which is only the second ant. And now we're ready to go, because now we have, because of our traits, we have 2 more stacks of Lumi, because the Uni Orbs gave us a lot of stuff. So we're going to swap the alt out, and magic buff, and use the orb change, because with the double Lumi protector, we're going to get the EX alt here. So we don't actually need Violet to do anything on this turn except buff herself and orb change and send her away. So on turn 3, you're looking for a good orb change into full blues with the magic buff and the alt swap ability, and then we can bring in Rimuru. Blanc has the magic buff, so she will kill this ant, so we're not going to take any damage unless you get an unlucky counter or something, and then if you're going for a perfect score, your run's over, because you don't want counters. But there you go, second ant is gone. We're going to move on to turn 4, where Violet already has her big magic buff. We have 200 points now, which is enough to use the other 2 buffs from Guy and Blanc, so the alt buff and then the synergy weakness down and the weakness damage buff, synergy resistance down and weakness damage. And that combined with another stack of Lumi will give us the 1 million damage cap. More than that. So we'll send this, and boom, 1.3 million. We only need to do 1 million damage to get to damage cap. So there we go. We took 1 hit. 1 hit, which times the multiplier is 0. And then max damage, max turn, and max survivor. So that is my perfect run. Thank you, you sweaty whale nature, for the team. Let's move on to a few alternate teams now. Alright, team number 2 is a slight variation of the first team. We're not going with the defense. This will not get you the max score, but it'll certainly get you damage cap. So we're still using Lumi, we're still using Violet, but now as a support, we're bringing Jaune. So if you don't have Jaune, you can just nuke with Violet. We proved that already. But, Jaune's got her own buffs. We've got Coleus Rimuru, Rainbow Rimuru, whatever you want to call him. We brought the hero for Rewind, and then we also brought Light Shuna for the Orb Steal to help get an EX alt for Blanc. So between her and Rimuru, this should work out, fairly well. Alright. So turn 1, we're going to Orb change with Violet eventually. There we go. And then we're going to, I believe, just send it, because we want to keep Shuna and Jaune in the back, because we want to steal 3 with Shuna, so she has to be there. And then we want to have to, be able to bring in Jaune for those stolen orbs. And why am I just sitting here? I'm sitting here for a while. Oh no, I brought her in. Okay, so maybe I'm playing ahead. So I'm thinking ahead, praying that we get, 3 more Shuna orbs back there. And then I guess we can just naturally pray for RNG to bless us. And it did. So, that worked out. So now we're going to steal, and then, you could rainbow, you could rewind here. It's really, so we do rainbow. I'm going to get rid of these 2 greens to give us the double protection gauge right there. I don't know if that was the best call to make, but it was a call. And then now we can enough points to steal with Shuna and get 2 stacks of Lumi on Jaune, which is the most important thing. I think I'm bringing Violet in for her trait. No, I'm just bringing Violet in because I'm an idiot. Okay, yeah, so don't bring Violet in. Just leave her in the back. Okay, so there we go. 1 stack, alt gauge charm, 2 stacks, more alt gauge charm. So this will definitely help us out a lot. And then we'll go ahead and murder this ant. And that gets us very, very close. With the trait from the hero, I believe we should get another stack of Lumi right here, which is going to be great. The only thing about using Jaune is you can't hold any of her buffs like you can with Violet, right? So if we're using Violet as the primary nuker, we can just use the magic buff and send her away and everything's good. With Jaune, she has 2 buffs and none of them can be held, and retain their full power in the back line because it's buffing the alts, and it's giving like resistance down, and none of that sticks around if you swap her away. It'll just go away after the turn is over. So here we actually didn't get the protection gauge from Valentine, which is a misplay on my part. So we should have brought in Violet for Rimuru last turn, and between Violet's trait and the hero's trait, that would have given us that other stack of Lumi, which would have given us the EX alt for Jaune. So unfortunately, didn't really work out. We're going to rainbow the orbs right here, and then we're going to go ahead and, I think, steal them, and then give it to Jaune, who's going to have 5 orbs, and that will most definitely get her. Or we're going to send it. Okay, we're going to send it. Okay, well that works too. That ensures we get maximum gauge almost. And so then next turn, now that we have a stack of Lumi, we can just apply that to Jaune and then send her away again. And hopefully have enough to use everything. We have, 8, 16... We have 270 points worth of buffs going on, and we don't have that many points. Not right now, and we won't. So, 2 more stacks, and then I think she goes away. Do we use anything here? I don't think we do. Man, what did I do in this run? I have no idea what I was doing last night. Okay, let's do some funny things. Okay, so we're going to use the magic buff, we're going to use the orb change. We're going to pull in this blue orb here for Jaune, so we'll have 5 blues. Will that give us enough points to do everything? We're going to find out, but it's the only thing we can do right here. We've made a few misplays in this run, so you don't need a perfect super duper run. You just need enough to actually nuke with what you have. So there's the second ant down. We're moving on to turn 5, which is the last turn for max turn bonus. Anything after that, you start losing points. So here we've got 180, so we do have enough to use a few different things. We can use both of Jaune's alt buffs, technically is what they are, but not the hero buff. So I'm fairly certain that the Jaune buff, because it's a double thing, it's going to do a lot more. 70% extra plus the 50% resistance will be a better buff than crit and 30% crit resistance down. So, yeah, we choose that. And then we're going to go ahead and nuke. And we pray that she does the damage cap of 1,000,000, and then we move on with her day. So, we're going to send the 2 hero orbs because she's not going to do a lot of damage. We just want to get it a little lower, and then 1.2 million right there. So there you go. It was a drawn-out process, was not perfect by any means, but it did get us the damage cap, which is the most important thing. We took a 145-point loss for taking damage, so oh well. For people that don't really give a shit about max score, this'll work just fine. Alright, next up, we're going to nuke with the 1.5 anniversary team. Warrior's Mind, we've got Velzard, Guy, the hero, again for the rewind, Physical Rimuru for his orb change and the physical buff. We're going to nuke with AoE Lumi. Now this does not get us max bonus, right? She doesn't do 1,000,000 damage. She does a lot of damage, not 1,000,000, because she's an AoE. And, that's fine, whatever. But we're using her. We're not going to use her physical buff, though, because it's not turn 8. It's turn 4 or 5. So we're going to use Rimuru's buff instead, because it is better until you hit turn 8. And then we've got Violet for the crit damage and alt resistance down. So this team, in theory, should work, because you are nuking with a space unit. It's just that you're really missing that massive 60% extra damage increase that Protector Lumi is giving us. So I think, is this a full run? It's not. Okay, so we'll start here. Okay, so again, turn 1 orb change with Guy. Pretty simple. And then we're going to go ahead and swap out Lumi for Guy, because we want the most amount of orbs possible. I think I took off the alt gauge charm from Protector Velzard. Don't quote me on that. But again, we don't want to kill the ant immediately. We want to leave it alive. So we are going to take a little bit of damage here. And then we got a pretty perfect hand right there. Only 1 orb, 3 Lumi orbs. So we didn't quite get 2 gauges of Velzard, but it is what it is. So we'll get the hero out of here. We'll use Violet's orb steal change, whatever you want to call it. And then we'll use the stack. And then we'll bring Guy in for his trait on turn 3, right? So, unfortunately, we took the hero out, but, oh well. We're going to get double gauge here from sending all 6. And then this will kill this first ant right there. We'll move on to the second ant. Now we've got a double stack of Velzard. And we're getting close to an alt now. Do I have the alt gauge charm on her? Let's figure that out first. Let's orb change and orb change, so perfect. And then we do have enough to rewind here as well. So, what are we doing here? Okay, we do have the alt charm on. So if you don't have the alt charm, it's going to be a little bit harder for you to get EX alts, obviously, because you're not getting just a free and easy 16% every single time. You'll need a better RNG for getting just more nuker orbs, depending on who you're using. Lumi, Violet, Jaune, whoever it is. But we have one more team after this as well, which, again, doesn't hit cap, but it is a team that you can use. So we'll go ahead and kill this ant. And that'll take us into the third phase, but still turn 3. So we're going to nuke on turn 4. We almost have a Lumi alt right there. And because of the rewind, and because of RNG, we have 1 more stack of Velzard. And we have 3 lucky Lumi orbs, which will be enough to get her EX alt. And we will have enough points to full buff next turn. So the Rimuru buff, the Guy buff, and the Violet buff. So we're not going to have an extra stack of Velzard, but that's fine. Yeah, because we're going to go into turn 4. So nothing there. 254 points, though. We only need 240, so it works out quite well. We'll bring Rimuru in for the hero, since we're not going to use her buff, because we're already going to get the crit from Guy, and then the physical buff from Rimuru, and then we'll bring in Violet for the alt resistance down and the physical crit damage. And then we're going to go ahead and send it, since he's already fairly low. So, let's go ahead and do that. And we hit 585. Definitely not a million, right? But if it's what you got, it's what you got. And you know what? You still get an S rank, and you get a funny number out of it. So, it works for people that don't have like the top tier options. Obviously, you can make very good substitutions. Jaune is on Warrior's Mind, so you could put her on this team if you're missing the Protector Lumi from this meta. That's always an option. But let's move on to our final team. Alright, the final team is a little bit interesting looking. We've got Protector Shuna, who is stacking the Pierce Power and the Stun Strike. We again have EX Guy here for his orb change and alt buff. Lumi is here for maybe a few stacks of her alt buff. Definitely not all of them. Raphael is here to give us the pierce and the stun to, enable us to do the stun strike and stuff from Shuna. Space Milim is our nuker, who with her 50% space buff and the Drago effect will actually increase the total stack damage that we get from using Shuna. And then we brought Free to Play Geld to give away the orbs to Milim, who does have the highest attack stat by a little bit. But that's why Geld's here. You could replace him with, Visions of Coleus Rimuru if you want. You could put a different orb changer in there, but I needed an orange orb changer at minimum, so we brought free-to-play Geld. So, and it works out fairly well. Again, this is not a perfect team. It is not a 1 million damage team, but it is, you know, more options for people to have since everybody minus Guy is in the general pool. And Guy is in, like, the big second anniversary banner, so you can pull him, right? I have proven that multiple times. You can pull lots and lots of EX Guys if you really, really put your mind to it. So, we're leaving Lumi up front because her turn 1, 2, and 3 traits will give us extra protection gauge. We'll send Milim last. We again don't want to kill immediately. We do want to leave it kind of low, though, and we get it very low. Very, very low. Took some damage there. We've got a double stack now of Shuna, which is good, so the first time we can actually do that here. And then we just need to get an ult. Thankfully, you know, the hand looks decent, and we don't need an EX ult on Milim, so that cuts out a lot of RNG right there. So I didn't put the ult gauge charm on because we didn't need so much ult gauge. I think I just put protection on blues or something like that, or skill points, one of the two, can't remember. But there we go, full hand of blues, another stack of Shuna, 152 points, looks really good. We're almost halfway to a Milim ult, so we do need a little bit extra, but we're going to use Geld now to send all those to Milim. That's the whole reason why we brought him, is to force Milim to eat orbs to get her ult. So one more stack here, and then we're going to go ahead and orb change. It's not perfect, right? If this went perfectly, Guy would change those 2 Lumi orbs, and then Geld would change those 2 oranges, and then we'd be eating real good. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work out like that, so we're going to do this and then steal them. So it changes the 1 Milim, so we still get 5 Milim orbs. We're missing out on, I was hoping to have like 5 blue Milims and a green, or 5 blues and a green, whatever, however that worked out, but hey, you know, whatever. So 5 blue orbs, that's enough to get her ult, which is the most important thing. Actually, it's not. Hold on, I'm a liar. Again, I don't remember what I did last night. So here, let's see, what do we get? We got a good Guy orb change right there, so that worked out fairly well. We've only done 1 stack of Lumi. If we had gotten that extra last orb last turn, we would have had enough to get a second stack of Lumis to get another 20% ult on it. But there we go. We only had, what, 2 Milim orbs? Yeah, it's enough. So we're on turn 5 now, which is, again, the max turn that you have before you start losing points. And we have another stack of Shuna, and we have enough points to use pretty much everything. We got double stack of Shuna, and enough points to do pretty much everything that we need to do here. So we will Drago, Space Buff, Stun, Pierce, Ult. We're missing another stack of Lumi, but it's whatever. We didn't bring the hero, so we're not going to get the crit, but this team's not focused on critting, it's just focused on Pierce and Stun Strike. And then we'll go ahead and send this, and Milim does 651. It's respectable damage, right? Not the highest, but respectable. And that gets you a final score of 71. So it's better than the Lumi team that we showed off, the Warriors Mind Lumi team. It's still not max, but again, if you don't have new big-time units and all the options, you're not going to get it anyways. So that's going to do it for normal Battle 1. Hopefully you guys are able to use some semblance of one of these teams to increase your score. Let me know if this video helped you out. Again, the other videos will be linked in the video description, and we'll have a playlist for everything. But that's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.